I've just arrived in Matlock, a small town in Derbyshire, and from here I'm going to run back to Derby City. The route that I've planned goes through some really nice countryside and should have some great views. Now, when I planned this route, the weather forecast said that it was going to be a beautiful sunny day, but it's actually raining. But that's not going to stop me. So let's go. I started running when I was about 16 years old. Back then I used to compete in taekwondo and kickboxing in the under 65 kilogram weight category. That was quite light for me, particularly as I was still growing, and so I started to run as a way to burn calories and keep my weight down. I'd get up early every morning, go for a run, come home, shower, cook breakfast, and then head off to school. The only problem was that because those things all took so long, I would inevitably leave the house late, and so I'd have to run again to make sure that I got to school on time. Getting into running at an early age made it into something of a habit for me. Although I stopped running every day when I stopped competing in martial arts at about 20 years old, running remained my preferred way of working out. Whenever I felt like I needed to lose some weight, get fitter, or just burn off some energy, I'd put on my trainers and go for a run. But running was always a means to an end. It was for weight loss or general health and fitness. Whilst I did enjoy burning off energy, I don't think I could ever really say that I loved running itself. I am stood on top of the Heights of Abraham, which is one of the tallest peaks in this part of the county. And usually you'd be able to see a beautiful view stretching for miles behind me. But as you can probably see, the rain is coming down really heavy, and so there's a lot of mist and you can't see so far. Because of that, my runs were always quite short. I never ran for more than about 30 or 45 minutes. After all, you don't need to run far to get the health and fitness benefits. You just need to run often and focus on improving your speed. Friends of mine have asked me before, why do you run in the rain? Well, firstly, I never really set out to run in the rain. I always try to run on days that are nice and sunny. I much prefer that. But the thing is, you can never predict the weather. You can look at the weather forecast, but just like today, they can be completely wrong. And I used to live in Fuzhou, China, where it rained a lot. And now I live in Derbyshire in the UK, where it also rains quite a lot. So if I was to only run when the weather was really good, I just wouldn't have that many opportunities to run, particularly as I work Monday to Friday, and that means I only have 2 days a week where I can do long runs like this. And so the way I look at it is, if you want to run, if you want to get out and explore and enjoy the countryside, sometimes you just got to put up with the bad weather. When I moved to Fuzhou, China, in 2013, I was struck by the beauty of the mountains that surround the city, and I often thought about exploring them. But with no car, and at that time, few good public transport links to the rural areas, I couldn't figure out how to do so. In order to get around the city more easily, I bought a bike. I later met some other foreigners who were really into cycling. They invited me to go on a long-distance ride with them to a mountain outside the city. We didn't get back into the city until late in the evening, and as they were much fitter than me, I struggled to keep up. But nevertheless, I loved the experience, and I realised that I finally had a way to start exploring all those mountains I'd been looking at for so long. I've just arrived in a cute little village called Cromford. Now, the section that I just came through had a lot of really technical trail, and as you can see, it was really wet, so I had to go quite slow, and as a result, I'm a bit behind schedule. Now, on these kinds of long runs, I don't really worry too much about my time. I'm just trying to enjoy myself, and I like to stop and look at the scenery and things like that. However, I don't want my run to take the entire day, and so being as the rain has now stopped and I'm going to be on an easier trail, I'm going to push it a little bit harder, go a bit faster to hopefully make up some of that time. From then on, I began riding often. My fitness improved a lot, and I got a better mountain bike. I met another person who was really into cycling, and we started doing incredible long-distance rides together into really remote areas. We would regularly ride 75 to 100 kilometers all over the surrounding mountain ranges, and even out to the coast and back. Eventually, I started doing such rides alone. I have many great memories of those rides, and some photos, but I really wish I'd filmed them so I could share them with people and help myself not to forget. As I got more adventurous, I realised that there were places I just couldn't reach on my bike, such as unrideable trails going deep into the jungle, and routes up the sides of mountains that were much too steep for even the strongest cyclist. I thought about hiking these places, but it would have taken far too long, so I had the idea to run them. At this time, I was already running short distances once or twice a week, and so, combined with all the cycling I did, I thought I'd be fit enough to do long trail runs. The first trail run I did was going straight up the side of Gushan, a famous mountain on the east side of Fuzhou City. The sun has finally come out. I remember that I took far too much water with me in a big rucksack that weighed me down and made it hard to run. I think the route was about 20 kilometers in total. I don't remember how long it took, only that it took much longer than I'd expected. The fitness and strength required to run long distances up steep slopes on technical trails is very different from the fitness you get from short road running or cycling. Although it was a lot harder than I expected, I absolutely loved it. I loved being out in nature, in places where few people went and where it was only possible to get to on foot. I loved being surrounded by lush green trees and exotic birds. I wanted to keep doing it and go to even more interesting and unusual places, and so I started training to make myself fit enough for such runs. I did lots of long distance road running, and about once a week I'd ride my e-bike out to the mountains and run different trails I'd found on the map. Training for long distance running led me to meeting some ultra runners. They were foreigners who also lived in Fuzhou at the time. I'd never heard of ultra running until I met them, but I discovered that it was basically what I had been training for. They had run many races, and so I decided to run some too. I entered 2 ultra marathons, both in Hong Kong. The first I had to pull out of, but the second, a 52-kilometer race up and around the technical mountain trails of the New Territories, I completed in just over 9 hours. I did enjoy racing, however I haven't entered any ultramarathon races since those 2. What I love about long distance trail running is the chance for adventure, the ability to go somewhere not well explored, to see places few others have seen. And it's not just the running itself that I love all the planning too, searching maps to find trails, plotting routes, figuring out how long it might take, how much food I'll need to bring with me, and so on. When you run in a race, you know that you're taking a well-trodden path, and someone else has planned the route for you. I may enter more races in the future, but it isn't what keeps me training. Long-distance trail running allowed me to go to so many amazing places in Fuzhou that I simply never could have gone to otherwise. Many of my best memories from Fuzhou are of being deep in the jungle, somewhere on a mountain. What a difference a few hours make. This morning it was absolutely hammering it down with rain, and now it's a beautiful summer's day. I probably should just start my run a few hours later. I'm confident that I've run in many places no other foreigners and very few locals have ever been to, and something about that seems really cool to me. Shortly after coming back to the UK, I injured my knee, and so was not able to do a lot of running. But the knee is healing up well, and I've finally been able to do some big runs in the countryside around the city where I live. As the UK is so familiar to me, and its countryside is less wild than that of China, I'm not sure that running here will ever give me quite the same feeling of adventure that I got running in rural Fuzhou. But running here has allowed me to see some truly breathtaking views, visit cute traditional villages, get close to wildlife, and fall in love again with the countryside of my homeland. I'm back in Derby. The route was 33 kilometers and took me just under 6 hours. It was actually a lot more difficult than I anticipated because there was a lot of climbing and there was a lot of really technical trail involved. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed watching. 下次再见。